Welcome to a Management Plus webinar. My name is Kevin Sloan. I'm a certified electronic health record specialist and certified ophthalmic technician. Management Plus is an industry leader in electronic health records, and we want to provide you with the tools to make documentation within your electronic health record fast and accurate, as well as the skills to use these tools proficiently. Today's webinar is titled Electronic Health Records Drawing Tools Demystified. The highlights of this discussion will be: number 1, overview of the drawing tool; number 2, overview of stamps; and 3, alternatives to this drawing tool. Let's get started. We have a record on the screen for a specific patient, and we want to make a drawing. We're going to do several drawings here to try to explain the drawing tool. We have anterior segment drawings here and posterior segment drawings on the bottom. Okay. You can always make everything normal here, and let's just say there was something that you wanted to draw on this here on the cornea. Let's just say it's a foreign body, a little bit of edema, and there's some punctate keratitis. Okay, we've documented that. I'm actually going to highlight that. Okay. To activate this drawing, you just click into the middle of that, and it will activate the drawing tools for you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear it out. I was in the drawings earlier, so when you exit out and go back into it, you may get a stamp on there or something onto the drawing you don't want. So if you've already done that today, it's great to clear that out. Otherwise, you'll be just fine. You can see that we have stamps to the right, and at the top you have a drawing palette with multiple tools. The key options that you will select are over here on the far left. When you mouse over each one of these little icons, you'll see a little label, a small label pops up there, tells you what it does. The upper left is for select. That's the one you'll be clicking the most, and you'll see why. This option right below it is new. That's like a giant eraser. It will clear everything out of this, so you can start over. At first, a lot of this will be trial and error, and you'll wipe the slate clean by clicking new to start over. After a while of using this, you become more adept at it, and drawings become easier and easier. It's like anything else. You sort of have to get the feel for this. We're just going to click the select button, and let's do for an example what I've explained. We have some edema, the foreign body, and punctate keratitis. And we're going to draw that on there. Let's talk about some of the tools that we can use. We have a freehand brush, a rectangle, circle, ellipse, an arc, polygon, a bezier, labels, a picture, a magnifier, plus and minus, and rotational tools. On the top, again on the bottom, you have the new icon. These items here, these icons are not lit up. That's because you have to have something selected to make those light up. So you can click cut, but unless you have something selected there already on the drawing, it's not available until you do. Let's just draw a little something there. And so now you can see that the cut command is available, as well as all these others. Cut, copy, paste, as well as bring to front, bring forward, send to back, send backwards, and then the group and ungroup. Foreground and background, and then of course your size of the shape here that you have drawn. So let's clear that out. Let's draw some edema on here. Okay. There are several options that you can use. If I were going to draw some edema, most likely I would choose a stamp. The stamps over here to the right are designed primarily for retina. Does not necessarily mean that you can't have stamps in here for cornea. Certainly you can. There's no reason why you can't have corneal stamps mixed in with this. We'll talk more about stamps in just a little bit. But primarily these are all for, excuse me, for retina, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't use them up here. Even though it's labeled choroidal detachment, retinal layer separation, if it fits the need that you have at hand, certainly go ahead and use it. It does not hurt one thing at all. So let's use this retinitis pigmentosa large to indicate the edema, foreign body, and punctate keratitis. I'll click this, come back over here to the location that's desired, click once with the left key of your mouse, and now I'm not holding down any keys. I'm going to drag down to the right to make a box about the size of what I want it to be. Then I'll left click one more time and you'll see the stamp appear. If you click over here again and draw another box and click, you'll get a second stamp as well, just a little larger. You can also grab another stamp. If this is the one you wanted, you can add that to it. If you did Control Z, there's no undo for this. So once you put it on there, you can manually remove that, which is certainly not a problem. Let's clear it all out to show you that function. Let's put this right back on here again. We'll choose that stamp and we'll draw that right there. If you wanted to make that larger or smaller or to move it around, you'll click the select icon, click that, you'll see the little grab handles onto the side. Often there's 6, occasionally on some of these you'll see just 4. If you get on a corner and you move it out, you can make it larger. If you just click select it right in the middle, you can move it around. If you just get one grab handle on the side, and then you can move it here. It's 2 moves. You can accomplish the same thing. And then just move it to the location that you want. If you wanted to delete that, you could click that, press delete. Another way to get rid of that. If you had more than one item on there, so if we put this back on and we had an arrow pointing to this and you wanted to delete just this first one, click the select, press delete, and it's gone. Okay. So let's freehand draw some edema and a foreign body. Let's click this, and now I'm going to choose the size. It's on 7 by default. It's the last size that I used. It's on green and in gray. Foreground's green, background is gray. Okay. Just going to choose black, and I'll click. If that's all you need, that's great. You can also draw like this if you want to. You can get rid of that just as quick by selecting it and pressing delete. And let's draw some punctate keratitis on there. So let's choose green, and we'll choose 5 as the size, and here you have some SPK. Just little dots around this and on the cornea. And we want to label that. We do have it labeled here, but we may want to label the drawing. There's reasons for doing that. When you see your drawing on the narrative, it'll be close to the description here, but if you're viewing thumbnails only, you won't have a description. So you may want to embed that on there. So clicking into this again, actually put another little SPK dot on there, which I may not want. Select that, press delete. I'm going to use the A to annotate. I'm going to click here and go to the lower right. I'm going to paste that on and click OK. It's a lot of text to put on there. Okay, you may have to stretch it out. May have to move it down a little bit. Certainly it's fine. It's not designed for a lot of text, but enough to get the job done. Okay. Take a look at those stamps now. You can see now in the stamps, as you look at this, you can see the label that's been applied. These others, not much on those, but here you can see that we have that. You can open that up by right-clicking and navigate through your stamps this way here. So it's nice to embed a label onto that, even if it's the exact same label as what you've described here within your record. So it's always a good idea to click the little select icon here. Make sure that you're not in the mode of drawing something onto this. If you wanted to rotate this a little bit, you can click that. Use the rotational keys. Move that over just a little bit if you want, and you can always fine-tune this just a little bit more. If you wanted to make it a little bit bigger or smaller, certainly not a problem. Let's go over here to the left eye, demonstrate some other features. We're going to click into this. Many times people will ask me if they can have more than one template on your drawing. The answer is you can have as many as you need to. By default, this could be blank and you could place a template right on there each and every time. But generally you'll want one template to do 75 to 85% of your drawings, basically your favorite to be there by default. Your other drawings, you can add those as needed. I'm going to do that by using this little icon here that says picture. Click that, and then I will draw a box. There we go. The size that I want it to be. Just little boundaries on there. Once I click again, it will navigate out to my computer. It went to the location that I was last at, and it happened to be the drawings. So once you go to your drawings folder or wherever you keep your other drawings at, it's just a location on your computer or network, just happen to be in this particular folder. Now you have available to you to be used at your discretion any other drawings that you might have. Let's use this lateral cross section. Click that once, do open, and it will lay right on top of what you already have there. Bear in mind, if it's a drawing similar to this where it has a white background, you will see the original template through it. So it will just overlay on top of it and not necessarily cover it. It's almost transparent. This has color throughout all of it, so you don't see what's beneath that. Let's just indicate on here some narrow angles. So I'm going to label this by using the label tool. Grade 2 narrow angle, and let's use an arrow to point out where it's at. There. And let's move this over just a little bit. Now we have it. So we'll want to document in here, grade 2 narrow angle, and I could have used that, just copied that and pasted it into that annotation feature. would have worked just fine. Let's go down to the posterior segment drawings. I recommend that you take your time and work through each one of these and just experiment. Click the rectangle, draw a rectangle, and you'll see that the foreground is green, the background is gray, and the size of the pen marking around it is 5. You can change that to 10 and you'll see it get larger. Change it to 2, it will get smaller. If I want this to be kind of a fuchsia color or purple, it will change that because it is selected at the moment. Further experiment. Let's send this to the back, and you can see that that's now to the back of that. And bring forward, we'll bring it forward. If we want to copy this and then paste it, you can see we have 2 of them now. If you click paste again, you'll have 3. So I would recommend you practice with this. Get the feel of how it works. Click those and delete them. Select that, click cut, and you'll see it's removed. Click that and it's pasted. Paste another one on there as well. Try each one of these. Try the arc. See how it looks. See how it activates when you click those and draw them. It's really the best thing you can do to get used to this drawing tool, is to get a feel of what it does, is to try each one of these options. Draw an ellipse, draw an arc, a polygon, each one of these. Rotate them. These, you're not going to be able to rotate those, but if you had an arc, I don't think you can rotate that either. Just going to be the stamps. I would recommend that you just work with these, and after a while it's very easy. Let's use these stamps now on the posterior segment. Let's draw a retinal tear, superior temporal, and we'll rotate that. It will work with a stamp to rotate it. And we're going to put some laser spots onto this, so we're going to use the freehand. We'll choose black and a size of 5 to indicate some laser spots. We're going to wall this retinal tear off. Some indirect photocoagulation. And if you want to indicate some edema, choose one of these other stamps if you feel like it meets the need. Choose this one here. There's a little bit of edema here, and we might want to make that just a little bit smaller, so you can make it a little smaller. Let's label this. If you want this background to be white, you can choose that. So now it's white. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Tuck it off to the side, and we'll add an arrow right there. Let's put a second label on here. Back on. Okay. You can see after a while it becomes quite easy. I'm no Picasso, but I think you get the point. Let's draw a little hemorrhage on here. That retinal microaneurysm will work just fine. Put that right there. And we'll add another one here. And in the end, you have a nice retinal drawing. To make the stamps go away, just click and do another control. Let's work on the left eye. Sometimes you may not want to use a stamp, and there's another option to that if you just want to draw. The mode that it's in now is in the normal mode. If you want to go to the simple mode, you'll right click over the tools on the top, and it'll say toggle normal / simple view. So we want to go to the simple view. We're going to click that, and then I would just recommend just exiting that and then going back in, and it sort of wipes things clear. And now you just have the simple mode. So you have a brush, annotation, colors, and size, small, medium, and large. So basically a down and dirty way to do a drawing. So let's click the brush and red and then medium, and we're just going to put a little bit of red, a few little spots right here to indicate a small hemorrhage. Let's put some drusen on here. So we're going to select this in yellow, and we'll choose the large size. And so now we have some drusen in the macula. Okay. Click the annotate. Okay. Disc heme, 2+ macular drusen. Let's make that a little bit larger. See all of the text. Almost not quite big enough. If you want to go back to the normal mode, right click, toggle normal simple, I'll exit that, and then come back in, and your stamps will appear. Number 2 in the list of highlights is the overview of stamps. These stamps are loaded by default when the client is installed on each workstation. These retina stamps are given to you to use as a default list of stamps. You can change this list, you can add and you can subtract to it, and you can create your own stamps. Let's take a look at where they're located. In Windows Explorer, when you open it up, just navigate to your C drive, to Management Plus, and then you will see at the bottom is a stamps directory. When you go into this, you may need to modify the view. If it's in the list option, it will look this way, like large icons, small icons, extra large. So I just leave it for just large icons so you can quickly identify what's there. You can add to this list and remove items from this list. It is per workstation. So if you look at this list and say, I'm never going to use this Crayon detachment splotch, you can delete this right out of there. Just click it and press delete, and it will be gone from that workstation. You'll have to close out the record and then reopen it to see that it's disappeared, but it certainly is. So you can modify this. So if you only want 5 of your favorites to be on one particular workstation, certainly you're more than welcome to modify that list of stamps. It might be a good idea to essentially move them out instead of totally deleting those, although you can get them from other workstations or from the server. They are loaded there. So if you accidentally delete a stamp, you can put it back in there if you need to. You'll notice that when you're in this, the list of stamps is in reverse order. So vitreous opacity is at the top, and then the A's, like accidental cut, is at the bottom. This is A, accidental cut, B, and then brown. So it's in reverse. So your A's are here, and your lower letters of the alphabet are at the top. I don't have any way to modify that. It is that way by default. So just bear that in mind. Back to our stamps directory. Again, you can add or subtract to this just by clicking that and deleting, or selecting multiples and doing Control X and cutting them and moving them to another folder. You're more than welcome to do that. How about creating a new stamp? You're more than welcome to create as many stamps as you feel is necessary. It's very easily done. Let's close this record for a minute. I'm not going to save it. Let's just say we want to create a brand new stamp. A lot of folks have asked for some corneal stamps. I do have some upon request. Some nice corneal stamps that I do have available to me. I'd be more than happy to send you those upon request. Let's show you how to make a stamp. What I recommend is to use an existing stamp to start with. These stamps have to be a specific type and size. So if you right click or just mouse over these, you'll see that they're 32 by 32 pixels. Okay. Very small, 3.05K. And if you right click, you'll want to open with Paint. The version of Paint that I have is a newer version. I have Windows 8 on this machine. There are other versions of Paint that actually have other options, such as the spray can. This does not have the spray can option, although it does have some options that the other one doesn't. So it doesn't matter what version of Microsoft you're using, what operating system, as long as you're using Paint, you can export it out from that computer and just bring it into another, as long as the bitmaps are the same size. So you can certainly take this, copy it over to another computer, and then work on it there if your version of Paint has some options that you'd like. You can see that it is very small, and you'll want to keep it that way. Let's create a brand new one. So how are we going to clear this? Let's use the eraser, and we're just going to erase it out. So we have a nice blank spot. So let's create a corneal infiltrate with edema. If you're a graphic artist, this will be quite easy for you. I am not a graphic artist, so I'm going to just come up with, I think, what corneal edema and an infiltrate might look like. So I'm going to start with a circle. I'm going to choose that. And the size, we'll choose this size. And we'll choose kind of gray for the edema part. So let's draw that. I'll click with the mouse. This time I'll hold it down. It works a little bit different than in the drawings. It's not a stamp. So you have to hold your left key of the mouse down to get the size that you want. You can modify it from that point. If I want to make this a little bigger, certainly can. And let's just color that all in with this. So here's the infiltrate. And I'm going to put some edema on there. We'll use some green color. So we'll choose a brush, and we have different marker types, different brush types. So you'll want to kind of test each one of these to see which one you like the best. Just start with the first one and put a little bit of that in the middle. Okay. Gets the job done. Some edema with infiltrates. And if that's all you need, click File. Here's the important part. Save As. It'll come back to your stamps directory. 24-bit bitmap. That's exactly what you want to save it as. And then give it a new name. Okay. Going back to this. Here's the new stamp right here. It is alpha sorted. Here it actually goes from A to Z. Let's check this out. We'll launch a new record. Go to where the drawing is. Left click once in the middle, and there's the new stamp. You can click that, and just that fast, you can have a brand new stamp. These letters here, you can actually make labels. And you can label items. You could label this as you create it. Certainly nothing wrong with that. The label would be very small. You wouldn't be able to get very many letters across that, but you certainly could. You can see here, this has one letter. You probably would only get 2 or 3 at the most. So you're most likely you're better off to label it this way. And it allows you to get a little bit of a longer label on there. And as I mentioned, if you document it in here, within this, it will allow you to copy that, paste it right in, so you don't have to type it twice. Feel free to make as many stamps as you need. Remove those that you don't need, and you'll be able to use this tool much quicker than you expected. Let's take a look at another drawing tool. It's the same type, but I wanted to show you some other options to that. We have some other retinal drawings. These use the same tool as I mentioned earlier. But you can see here, these are a lot larger. If you want to get very detailed, we do recommend you using a larger tool. This is a very large form as far as the DFM file size because there's actually 6 drawings. These are heavy hitters when it comes to performance. That's why these are on a separate form by themselves. If you're not doing a lot of drawings within your office, you may want to consider the option of moving these drawing tools off of the form onto a separate form such as this, so that in the few cases a year that you might do a drawing, if your office doesn't do very many, then you're not getting that performance hit on every patient when they're here. But if you do make drawings at least 2 to 3 times a day, you're well enough just to leave them as they are. You're better off to do that. I did want to show you this drawing tool here, that if you put a stamp on that and exit this, it does select the completed drawing checkbox. There are some invisible controls here that actually will retain a list of the stamp name and allow you to write code based on the stamp that you use to trigger specific events, and gives you some logic flexibility based on the stamp that you use. If you chose like a Nevis and you wanted something to happen when you drew a Nevis on here, you certainly could. I have had this set up to where when something was drawn here, it would actually fill in the other form in a specifics option. So if you had peripheral retina and you wanted to have Nevis added to that list of descriptions, or a specific description pertaining to a Nevis, that can be done using this type of drawing tool. Doesn't have to be on this form. It could always be on this form here as well. It'll work just the same. Some real alternatives to this drawing tool is to use a different type, which I'd like to demonstrate for you. Here's a form with some anterior segment drawings and posterior segment drawings. These drawing tools use Olay containers, which actually launch paint. Let's take a look at these. Before I do want to mention that these types of drawings, if you access these and then change your mind and say, I don't want this drawing anymore, you can always right click and press the clear option, and it will clear this out totally, and it will also clear it from the narrative. The Olay container drawing tools do not have that feature. Once you enter into these, you're somewhat committed to the point that if you change your mind and decide you don't want that on the narrative, it's going to be on the narrative whether there's something drawn there or not. Yeah, if you decide to clear it all out, you can certainly do that, but it will still show on the narrative. So if you're aware of that, these work just fine. To access this, there are 3 ways. I recommend only one, and it is to double click. It will launch your paint and it will allow you to draw. Kind of uses the similar, it's the exact same version of paint that we used to create that. So if you're very good at using this tool, it's nice for doing contact lens because it has this nice option to draw a contact lens on there. So let's choose the brush, okay, and the size. I'm going to do small and black, and we'll do a circle. And allows you to change the size, so you can put a contact on there, and you can move it. That's too big. Let's make it a little smaller. And if there's a little bit of pooling down here in the bottom, we're going to fill that in with some fluorescein stain. Makes it nice. Allows you to draw as well as your skills allow you to. Again, I'm no Picasso, but I think you would get the point here and what we're trying to do. And you'll just click the X to close out of this. Very simple. This works the same way, but I do want to mention that once you're into this, because this has a colored background, if you try to use the fill feature, it will only fill in the white area. So if you bisect this line and you use the paint can to fill it, it'll only fill the lower part. So be aware of that and use your drawings appropriately. Accessing this just brings you right back to the same tool. Some of the more obvious differentiations between this drawing tool and the other is there's no stamps. So there's no way to write any coding logic based on what you've done. So once you draw it on there, it is there. Also, when there's colored backgrounds onto this, so let's just draw a little something here. We're going to choose blue. That's a pretty good size. See, there's some scars here. If you decide to use the eraser, it's going to erase everything. So be aware of that. Wanted to demonstrate that. Again, there's no way to clear this out. So once you've done it, you've kind of done it. And then that's it. There's no clearing going back. The only other option you can have, which is essentially a nice option, is to do the Control Z. So you can see every time I do Control Z, it will go back in reverse. Sometimes it will only go back 3 or 4 steps. I have seen it go back 8 or 9 steps in the past, which it's a nice option to have the undo feature. So let's put some drusen on here. And I don't really like that, so let's remove that. Let's use this brush. And there's kind of small, so let's go up a little bigger and put some bigger drusen. Let's annotate this. And you can see that we want to change this color. We'll just leave it yellow. Okay, we'll move that off to the side. Okay. Makes for a fairly nice drawing. This completes the webinar on drawings. I hope you've been able to glean some good information that you can take back to your office and use on a daily basis. Share it with your staff. Share it with your physicians. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. You can reach me at ksloan@managementplus.com, or you can dial the main number and then extension 209. This webinar will be available on the Management Plus website so that you can review it again at your own time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.